Okay. Um, so let's say you want to add a watermark to an image. Um, well, let me do this first. I'm gonna get to an example. Let me first just show you an example. Um, okay, so here on my PHP page, I've got some input text box to that I'm going to use to experiment with as I manipulate these images. But you can easily convert this code to work in a project of yours to do many, many different things with images. For example, we can resize the images. We can automatically scale them, that is, set the width, and then the height will automatically be changed such that it's proportional to the width and it looks good, etc. And okay, but first let me just show you what we're doing here. All right. So these text box down here, in these text box, I'm going to name my image. I'm going to determine its width. I'm going to set its width. And I'm also going to add in a parameter for the quality, because obviously file size is affected by the quality. And if you've got a website, in my case, I have an apartment website, and I know users are going to be uploading files, pictures of apartments that are too big, and so I need code to test exactly how large those files are, as well as what are the dimensions of the image, what kind of image is it a PNG, is it a JPEG, etc., and then make some changes based on that. But obviously you don't want, thousands and thousands of 1 MB file size pictures up on your server. It's no good. Also, it's a bad user experience because when they upload it, it takes longer for your code to make modifications and save it and then get back to the browser. Some of them will click away. I'm sure you've figured that out. Now later on in the video, I'm going to show you, and down in the description there's a link to the full code that you can just use, full working code, and you shouldn't have to do too many modifications, or any at all actually. And now I have a couple other videos here on my channel regarding the GD extension. You do need to make sure that the PHP interpreter you're using has that enabled. And again, on my channel there's a part 1 and part 2 regarding the GD extension, how to check it, what to do, your versions of PHP. So you may need to just check that out first, and that can solve all your problems. If this ends up being a glitch and somehow you want to look at that first, because it's not too difficult to solve. Okay, let's just get straight to it. I test watermark. Okay, let's go 400 pixels wide. Okay, quality, let's set this to 90%. Let's choose a picture. There we go. Okay, now let's get right into this watermarking code. All right. So here's our watermark. All right. And if we look over here in our code here, now I'm using this video for a number of different purposes, but right now I'm just going to focus in on the watermark aspect of it. All right. So first of all, you can see I've got my file. Okay. In the files array, I've got my file that I'm going to operate on. I assign it to the variable original. Okay, don't worry about this stuff up here really. Now, what I do is I use file size. I test the size of it, and okay, so I get the original, the file size, and this is the file size in bytes. And I divide it by 1,000,000 so that I can get the megabytes, etc. I do all this. Now I set my destination. Okay, my destination for my file when I'm finished with it. Then I'm going to create a resource. I use this function, image create from resource. You can also use image create from resource, and then here you put in ping. So the function name only changes, you know, in another video I discussed this briefly. So there you can see, all right, image create from ping. They have image create from GIF, etc. So you just change that function name based on your file type. But what if you want to, you need to know what kind of file it is. All right, well, one thing you can do is, right here, get image size. This function, in fact, right here, it will return an array. Okay, it will turn, although it just says image get image size, this particular function, this one, and I put in their original, this is my file resource I've gotten from the user. Okay, and this is an array. And you can take a look at what's in this array. Look at this. Here you've got width, so you can see it, the 0th element, the first element of the array. All right, so and I show what the width is, what the height is. So you can see here width 0 is 490 and the height 367. So it also has stuff like this. All right, you can take a look. It's image JPEG. And this is JPEG. So you can get this in different formats. Here you've got a string. So you can use this in your code to determine whether it's a ping, whether it's a GIF, whether it's a JPEG, and then change your code accordingly. Okay. Now, all right, so you can see here that I've gotten the quality from this one, but I'm sorry, let's not get distracted away from the matter at hand, which is getting, adding a watermark. All right, here's my resource. Okay, now I'm scaling it, and my size, you see I put in the size there. This size is the width. And this particular function, image scale, if you simply pass it the width, it will automatically adjust the height so that it's proportional. It's quite nice. Don't worry about this resampling stuff. I wouldn't do that. It doesn't turn out as well. Okay, so there's my resource. All right. So here's my scaled image. Now, my modified image is my name is for my saved file. Okay, that's the file path. Okay, so I took destination. Okay, it's images. So this, remember there's no / because this this images folder is in the same folder with this particular PHP file. So now I'm going to start getting to the watermark. All right. So here's my mark. This is going to be the height. This is going to be the width. Now I just ignore those. I didn't use them, so we'll ignore those. You don't have to do it that way. Now, first what I do is I'm going to create my watermark. I use this function, image create true color, and here's the width of it. Here's the height of it. So it's 290 by 28. So okay, so this box is 290 by 28. Okay, so there's my watermark. Now I need to use this function, image fill rectangle. So the first argument, here's my watermark. Okay, now how much, where these two arguments here are the x and y coordinates, where to start filling it, with this color here, which is, this color is hexadecimal for black. All right, so I'm going to start at x-axis 0.0, y-axis 0.0, and then I'm going to fill it out this far. Okay, and this far is 290 and 28. So I'm going to start, here's 0, okay, and so I'm going to go 0 in terms of the x-axis, starting there, and y-axis I'm also starting there. If it were 10 and 10, it would be about 10 across and 10 down, starting there. So I'm going to fill it with this black color, right? Okay, and now from this point here, if it were 10 and 10, it'd be here. If it's 0 and 0, it starts here. Now you're going to fill it out. How far? You're going to fill it out, this value, width 290, and then the height 28. So from 0, 0 here, you're going to go 290 and then also 28. So the whole thing, essentially it just says fill this whole rectangle with black. And then I'm going to make this whole watermark, I'm going to give it an opacity of 50%. That's how you get this, that sense there. It's kind of, you can see through it. Next thing I do is I use this function, image string. I pass in my watermark. Okay, then I start from 4. Oh no, excuse me. The second argument is, I should put, this was 4. So this is a font size of about 13 points. So it goes 1. You can go from 1 to 5 with that argument. Okay, it can go from 1 to 5. If it's a 5, it is about 15 points. So this is smaller than 15 points. I use 4. You could do a 1, a 2, a 3, 4, or 5, depending on how big you want it. Now, here's where you want to draw this string. Here's the string we're going to draw on our watermark. And we're going to go 10 pixels laterally, okay, on the x-axis. And we're going to go down 5 on the y-axis. And we're going to make this string white. Okay, this is hexadecimal for white. You can do a Google search on hexadecimal codes and colors. And so you'll get like an FFF or whatever, and you just put 0x in front of it. And so we're going to draw this string. We're going to go across 10 and go down 5. And then now we're going to start drawing our string across like that. Okay, so this argument, obviously, this is where you put in the words you want, the string, the text you want. Okay, scaled height, I didn't use this one. Okay, because we need to know where to start drawing. Well, okay, so now we have our watermark, right, with our string drawn on it. Now we use this function image copy merge. We take our scaled image that we have back here, okay, we take our scaled image, and what we do is the second argument is our watermark image. And now, where are we going to draw it? These two, this again is the x and y axes where we're going to start drawing our watermark on our original image. This is the one that we got from the user and we scaled it. We're going to go across 10, down 10, okay? So here we go across 10, down 10. Now this is where we're going to start drawing our watermark. Now, how much of our watermark are where? These two arguments represent where within our watermark we're going to start drawing, okay? And so I put 0, 0 because we want to start right up in here on our watermark when we start drawing it, because we're going to want to draw the whole thing, right? Now, how far do we draw along the x-axis? How far do we draw on the y-axis? Okay, so we're just going to make it the same size that it was. It was 290 width and the height of 28, right? And here's the opacity, 50%. Now, use image JPEG to create this. I'm creating my final image that I'm going to store on the server. It will write it onto the server. I take my scaled image, which has now been changed by this function. This function has changed my image, okay? And here's my file path. And here's the quality. And remember, I got the quality here. Obviously, quality, so this parameter, it is an integer, and it's from 0 to 100. It defaults to 75. So if you put in, I type in 50 here, it's going to be 50% the quality that it was when the user uploaded it. And obviously, as you know, that can conserve a tremendous amount of space on the server. It can also reduce lag times between the user's browser and the server. So, yeah, so then we just simply write it there. Now, also afterwards, just for shits and giggles, I guess you could say, I have calculated, all right, this is how large the picture is after modification in megabytes, and here it is in kilobytes. Okay, then I go down here and I test, okay, is this post value set? If it is, which it is, okay, right, this whole thing wouldn't be happening if the user didn't click on that button. And so this code tests that. Okay, in the post array, is this set? Modify image. And modify image is my, right here's my input submit, my button. If you click it, then in the post array, it will be set. And then, if that's the case, all right, then the code between these brackets will execute. I close up my PHP, and essentially now I can insert some HTML. Now, if this were not true, if this is not true, okay, and again, if you're not a beginner, I apologize. I want to make this channel mainly for beginners, but there's going to be a lot of code on here for people who are not beginners. So, all right. So at any rate, we can spit out this HTML right here. All right, and it will not be spat out if this condition is not true, is set. Right? It tests whether or not within the post array the modify image has been set. And okay, so good enough. All right, let's take this one and let's just call it new one, and let's modify this to 650, and let's make the quality 80, whatever. Okay, and we'll choose our file. Okay, now, there we go. Now, probably you're going to want to modify this and make them smaller. So now let's make this 300. And we'll make the quality 60%. All right, so now we're going to take the same image here. It started at 53 kilobytes. We did very little modification. It came down to 37 kilobytes. But what happens now? Okay, so obviously this is a much smaller image. You can adjust all this stuff. Now, does the quality, now take a look at this. 9 kilobytes, that's nothing, right? It went from 53 kilobytes. And some of these users, you know they're going to be uploading like 2 megabyte files, you know, just crap like that. You can't have that on your server. You're not going to want that. If you're, in my case, it's an apartment website, so landlords, you know, there's going to be tons of people looking at that. I don't want them to That's going to slow down traffic. It's going to be awful. So I need to change those things. So there we go. Now, I have this code is here for you. You can go to this website here. And hey, on Facebook, please try to like me and like the videos. And like a couple of my pages on this website. I'm going to give you this code for free. It's in a text file, right? You can just go here. This is totally working code. However, you'll see in my code, you're going to need, let me quickly just remind you, these fancy, nice looking text boxes and the buttons kind of cool, they're only that way because I'm using Bootstrap, right? I'm including Bootstrap. You don't need any of that. You don't need it to get this PHP code to work. This stuff here, you're going to take this out. All right, because you're going to take it out or just ignore it. You know, the browser will fail quietly if you leave it in. It doesn't matter that much, but essentially it's this code right here. You don't need it. You don't need this stuff right here. If you want, you can just take all this stuff in the head tag. You can take all this stuff and just delete it. Okay, it doesn't matter. Or you can leave it in. It won't look fancy like that. Now let's take a look here. Okay, so if set, I think you guys. Okay, now here's how to test whether they're. Well, I'm not going to go into that right now. I didn't use this code here right now. You can ignore it, whatever. So again, here's the files array. And this is my test picture. It's coming down from the user. Here I called it, which one did I call that? Oh yeah, test pic. I really should rename this test pic. And I don't need that. Well, whatever. Okay. That is right here, right? That's where they upload the file, then the file comes to. Okay, well, where are we? All right, good enough.